What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the All Things Footy podcast, hosted by myself, Ethan Reich. Again, alone today because the guests that I thought I'd have on today are busy, including myself, but I found some time to talk about a remarkably busy week and last weekend, of football, both in the Premier League and mainly the Champions League is what I want to talk about. Let's just jump right into the action. So, we had a lot of big games that happened over this past weekend. I was unfortunately a little bit ill, so I couldn't really make a podcast episode on that, but I'm going to cover most of those games now. Starting with the biggest game I want to talk about, which is Arsenal versus Liverpool. Arsenal were the home team on really, really good form. Again, only losing one game still as they beat Liverpool 3-2 at home again. And Liverpool, I thought played really, really well. I think it was their best performance up to date in all competitions. Again, this is disregarding what we saw yesterday. Darwin Núñez looks really, really, really good. I think he's a top signing for Liverpool. Jota as well. I feel like Jota is so underrated. Him and Darwin were connecting really well together, I feel like, and scored really good goals together. Luis Diaz as well, another great player who I think just needs a little bit more end product. Same thing I say about Sterling, but I think Diaz has good end product. Every time I see him shoot, though, I feel like he hits the post or the bar, which is really unlucky. But if he could add more and more goals to his game and assists, he'd be a remarkable player. People calling him like an empty stat man, which I don't really agree with. I think he's a really, really impactful player, and on his day is one of the best wingers in the Premier League, in my opinion. And I think he complements Salah really, really well, because if Salah's having a bad game, which has been, pretty consistent up until late, Luis Diaz will most likely produce high output levels on the other side of the wing. So, yeah, I thought Liverpool played really well. Arsenal getting the win, though. 2 goals from Saka, one controversial-ish penalty, which I believe was a penalty, though, if you read the rules of the game and how penalties have been called all season, like handballs and all that stuff. And Martinelli, that first goal, my God, it was 1 minute in? I don't think Liverpool touched the ball. Arsenal just 8 passes right to goal. People's scapegoating Trent for that goal. He has very, very little awareness as a defensive right back. But I don't think he could be completely at fault because of how quickly and how well Arsenal worked it. Just people saw Trent out of position a little bit and are starting to blame him all for the goal. He deserves a little bit of blame because overall Martinelli was his man. He should have stayed with. He shouldn't have really tucked in that much. And yeah, Martinelli ended up scoring and made it 1-0. But overall, really, really good game. And I think this result, or not the result, the performance that Liverpool showed really set them up for their 7-1 win against Rangers yesterday in the Champions League, which I'll talk about now. Again, Darwin looking really good, scoring a really, really nice goal. Salah getting the fastest hat-trick in Champions League history. The first goal was so jammy. I'm sorry. I feel like every time I watch Salah score, he always scores at least one jammy goal in the games he scores in. But the other two are really, really nice. Again, it's just one game. Like we see with Son. Son had a really, really nice hat-trick against Leicester, although against a really, really shocking Danny Ward. But, hasn't really looked the same player since that hat-trick. So we can't really say, Salah's back. He's going to be back to his golden boot days. No. Great performance from him. Hopefully he could keep it up, because then another team will be able to challenge Manchester City for the title. But yeah, clinical performance from Liverpool. Joe Gomez played really, really well at right back, filling in for Trent. Something I never thought I'd say after seeing his last outing for Liverpool against Napoli, where he got torn to shreds. But yeah, also Bobby Firmino is a player reborn. He scores or assists in about every game he plays for Liverpool at the moment. And I feel like he has to be utilized more. Him and Jota, I feel like and continue to develop Darwin. It's all a shame because they're all mainly central players, right? Central nines or tens even. But I feel like if you get two of them on the pitch at the same time, that'll complement each other nicely and really be useful to Liverpool's run for the league. Even though I don't think they're going to win the league, but who knows what they could do? They could conjure up a master run and finish second or something. But another note about Arsenal, this game for me shows that they're at I wouldn't say favorites. No, they're one of the favorites to win the league, right? Equal to Man City. I'm predicting that eventually the quality and consistency of Man City will show and overtake Arsenal, right? But I don't think it's going to be like a 20-point difference. I think it'll be like maybe 8 points from first to second come end of the season, come City to Arsenal, I don't think Arsenal are going to completely fold anymore. Seeing them against United in the game that they lost, they played really, really well. And if they had made those 3 points or even 1 point, it could be a different story. I think maybe Arsenal won't win the league throughout, but they could definitely challenge it. Maybe they don't have the depth in numbers or the strength in numbers like City do. When you have like Bernardo Silva sometimes on your bench, Riyad Mahrez on your bench, Jack Grealish who's looking really, really good on your bench, compared to, no offense, like Eddie Nketiah, who I think is still developing to a good striker, but you get the point. But I think Arsenal are legit. Hopefully, knock on wood, that there's no injuries to their main players like Saliba, who's a really, really generational center back for them. Martinelli is developing ever so well. In my opinion, even better than Saka. Saka is still a really, really, really good player and will develop into a world-class winger if he isn't one already. Jesus looks like if Haaland wasn't existing, Jesus and Kane would be the two main talking points. I think Arsenal could win the league. Should they win the league? Probably not, even though they're in first. We understand the strength of Man City, right? But Arsenal could definitely fight for the league. And it'll be a really good battle. And hopefully, like I said, Liverpool continue these good performances in the Premier League and Champions League and fight with Arsenal and Man City. I don't know if they're going to be able to catch Man City. I think they're like 11 points clear of them already, something like that, maybe even more, which is a lot. But maybe they could make a really, really good run, make some signings in January, and push for like second or third place. So that would be really intriguing to watch. Another team, my team, Chelsea, have been surprising me in all the good ways recently. Mr. Graham Potter has something brewing at that team. I see every game, new formation, new lineups. It's fresh, it's new, it's inventive, it's everything. So positive from Graham Potter. One day we'll play a 3-back, the next day we'll play a 5-back, next day we'll play a 4-2-3-1, something like that. He's always changing up with the opponents in mind, which I really, really rate. Like, I think we played a back 4 against Wolves, I'm pretty sure, and we won that one 3-0. Again, Sterling looking amazing. Broja, however you pronounce his name, getting a goal. And the LeBron James of soccer also getting a goal. Christian Pulisic, who Rory Jennings, avid Chelsea fan, has recently deemed a terrible footballer and he should be nowhere near the starting 11. Yet he plays and has a couple of really nice chances and scores a great goal. So I think you got to, keep giving Pulisic chances to shine, especially because we have like Hudson-Odoi out on loan, players that maybe under recent managers would be ahead of Pulisic. Now that we have a steady amount of wingers at the club, I think we should be playing Pulisic more. Also, Sterling is another, like I said it before, another great player who's only getting better and better. Our back line is looking more solid. And for a team that I said would find it hard to push into the top 4, under Tuchel that was, I didn't think we'd get Graham Potter. We're doing really, really well. Really, really well. Champions League, we had Milan at AC Milan this time at the San Siro. Beat him 2-0. It was sad to see ex-Chelsea player Fikayo Tomori get a red card. Controversial red, but definitely denial of a goal scoring opportunity, even though Mount didn't go to ground. Um, Another game Chelsea played really, really well in, even away from home at a tough San Siro versus a tough AC Milan side. Played really, really well. Kepa, I think, has to be our number one keeper. I don't want to see Mendy in the first team for quite some time, unless Kepa has an injury. Um, Mendy has looked shocking in most games he's played in under the last 18 months. And yeah, I think this is Kepa's time to redeem himself. And I feel like everybody under Potter is playing for him at the moment, and it's got to stay like that. And we can maybe finish third, maybe even push Arsenal or City for second if we keep these performances up. I think we're like 6 points off second place right now, if I'm not mistaken. 7 points. That could change though. Arsenal or City could slip up at any given opportunity. I think City are yet to play us twice, so we could get points. I feel like we have a really, really good team who are playing for the manager. A manager who's very, very inventive in his tactics and his formations and his instructions. So I have to change my mind about Chelsea. I still think top four is going to be close because we have Arsenal and City running away with it at the moment. But then we have Man U, who's been on pretty good form in the Premier League. You've had Liverpool, who have started to perform better and better. And a team I'm going to talk about now, who I predicted to finish 5th in my preseason predictions, Newcastle United. I'm going to take a drink of water before this, but my God, do Newcastle look good. They're one of my favorite teams to watch at the moment because you're going to get goals, and more goals from them. I think they're only behind City with most goals scored or average goals a game, something like that. I think it's like 3 or maybe even close to 4 at this rate because the last 2 games, what was it, 4-1 at Fulham and now 5-1 versus Brentford. Does Newcastle look unplayable right now? Miguel Almiron, it's so nice to see him performing well because, ex-MLS player, I'm American. I think he has 4 goals and maybe an assist in 8 appearances, already surpassing his goal tally, I think, from last year. He's a different player. Very, very direct. He plays at 99 miles per hour, but he's controlling that 99 miles an hour quite well this year. Knowing when to play with pace, knowing when to slow up and to slow down and get your midfielders and your striker into the game. He's doing really, really well. Callum Wilson, even though they just brought in Isak, who looks really good, Callum Wilson is firing. He looks really, really hard to drop at the moment, both getting goals and creating goals. I think he got an assist against Brentford. St. Maximin returned from injury, looking really, really nice. Longstaff as well, looking really, really good. But because of one player, and that's Bruno Guimaraes, the real Bruno in the Premier League. I heard on the Kickoff podcast with Drew Jordy that is it a bad thing that he's playing so well? Because you have the likes of Real Madrid looking at him, who I believe offered for him this past summer. It's an interesting point because Newcastle obviously want to build for the future. Right? They got all this money last season to become a Premier League winning side in the future, right? And they're clearly generating good talent to do so. They still got St. Maximin, Guimaraes, who's becoming a really good player. They got Alex Isak, who I think will one day develop into a world-class striker. They have endless. They're gonna have a really, really good team come 2-3 years, and the centerpiece of that team will most likely be Bruno Guimaraes if he decides to stay. He loves Newcastle. You could see it. When he scores, he celebrates with the fans almost every time. He loves the energy from Newcastle, he said. And yeah, I think he's a really, really good player. He plays in that. He's not necessarily a complete 10, because he's also really, really good in the tackle. I'm pretty sure there's a stat where it's he's first in tackling, ball carries, interceptions, chances created, in front of midfields like Declan Rice, KDB and all these other guys. I think the only stat he trails in is like distance covered, something like that. And Declan Rice is in that category in first, and Grammars is in second. But my God, does that Newcastle team look good? Their back line looks really good. Trippier looks like a really, really good defender. And a chance creator as well. Every time he whips the ball in, I'm thinking, oh, it's a goal. Callum Wilson will find his way on it and score. So I think Newcastle, I'm going to upgrade my prediction. I think they're going to finish top 4, I think they could really, really continue to get results. They were robbed against Liverpool, where Liverpool scored like the 99th minute out of 95. They drew against City, a really good City team. I think they could easily win against Liverpool when they're going to be at home next time. As I think they're going to play City away, which most likely be an L. But I reckon Newcastle United could turn some heads and maybe finish in the top 4. And that'll attract a lot of more talent. A bunch more good players, like maybe, I don't even know. Like, the possibilities are endless, right? With all that money they have, they could attract almost anybody. Maybe Mbappe, who I don't want to talk about because of his ego, but maybe he'll go to Newcastle, who knows. But yeah, I'm really high on the Newcastle train, and I think everyone else should be. Moving right on, City, I think won 4-0 something at the Etihad. Haaland only scored 1 goal. Shame on him. He's a washed player, imagine. They look good, even though they drew with Copenhagen 2 days ago or yesterday. They played like their second team, away from home as well. And yeah, they look really, really good still. They play Liverpool upcoming this weekend. I'm really excited to watch that, especially a Liverpool team who just won 7-1 during the week. That'll be a good game to watch. I'm not trying to talk a lot about City because all I've mentioned is Haaland, and more Haaland. So I'm not trying to really talk about City and state the obvious that I think they're going to win the league and stuff like that. So one City I will talk about, though, is Leicester City. And what a fall from grace they're having. This is a team that, 6 years ago won the Premier League and were even fighting close for a Champions League semi-final spot at one point. And then would finish consistently top 5, top 6. Last year, bottled top 4, in my opinion. Now it looks like they're staying in the Premier League. They're probably going to go down. And I mean, they have immense talent like Harvey Barnes, Yuri Tielemans. I know he's washed up a little bit, but Jamie Vardy, you get the point. They have a really, really... Oh, Patson Daku, I think, is pretty good. Why are they struggling so much? They lost 2-1 at Bournemouth, who Bournemouth are in 8th place, to be fair to them, but Leicester were a top 5 side last season, right? Or like, they should have been a top 5 side if they weren't. I can't remember exactly where they finished, but they were a really, really good team. And it's effectively the same team they have now. I don't know what's going on. Is Rodgers going to be sacked? I know their keeper isn't that good, but it's still up to the players to perform and score goals, and they're not. They don't seem to be doing that. So yeah, I'm really surprised and shell shocked at how Leicester City have performed. So hopefully that'll change soon. Cause I don't want to see them go down to be honest, but if it has to happen, then I guess it happens, right? It's football. You gotta expect the unexpected. So yeah, Leicester looking like they're gonna get relegated for the first time in quite some time. I think they were relegated like 2013, something like that. From going from a top 5 side to relegation the next year, that's gonna spark some change in that club. And then El Clasico this weekend. You had Barcelona go out of the Champions League, or effectively like they're gonna be out. I think Bayern have to drop points to they have to lose both their Barcelona basically out of the Champions League. Let's put it like that. Where they play an on-form Real Madrid, although they just drew, I believe, in the Champions League. And El Clasico on Sunday. And I'm thinking that Real Madrid's going to take the win on this one. I think exiting the Champions League for the second time in consecutive years is going to play with the Barcelona mental state and really allow Madrid to get at them in numbers. I mean, you have Vinicius, Rodrigo, Benzema, Valverde, all these Camavinga, Chume, all raring to go. And right now, Barcelona sit atop of the Premier League, and I'm sure Real Madrid would want to beat Barcelona to get back up to the La Liga, not Premier League. So it's going to be a really, really good game. Sadly, I won't be able to watch it because I don't have ESPN Plus. Fuck you at La Liga for doing that. I'm not trying to pay money to watch basically one game. But yeah, La Liga's looking good. Another big La Liga story is Lopetegui, the ex-Sevilla manager who were 17th, I believe, and on the cusp of relegation, was sacked about a week ago. And I think he's going to Wolves now, the first non-Portuguese Wolves manager in 300 centuries. So we'll see what that does to the club. But yeah, a quick recap of what's going on in football recently. I'm going to do an in-depth episode on the Man City versus Liverpool game when it comes out, when it finished, because I really want to inspect that game, because I feel like if City slip up and lose or drop points and Liverpool win, it could really boost Arsenal's chances to win the league. So it's going to be a good game, El Clasico as well, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Take care and peace, everybody.